Seth.
Have a good meeting.
Me too. Well, thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We will with it all being set up for us. Okay. Everybody in?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just got a couple of quick things to read here. This is the May 24th meeting of April 24th meeting of Scituate Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtual as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. And the town of Scituate commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during our meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards and to support and respect our community, rather. Okay. So those said, we have an agenda, and can I get a motion to accept that agenda?
I make a motion, we accept the agenda as written. Any add-ons, Frank?
I would say just to let people know that 16 Lighthouse Road did request to be continued.
So I think both Lot A, Booth Hill, and 16
Yeah.
Lighthouse are going to be continued. We'll see how much time there is at the end. I might give you a little update on where we are with a couple of open space things, but
Okay.
if it's late, that can
Wait.
we have a pretty full agenda. So.
Yeah, we sure do.
Okay. So that was a motion from Penny to accept that. We have a second.
Second from Jen.
All in favor? Actually, it's Eric.
Yes.
And Frank, yes. It's going to make that pretty easy.
Yeah.
Okay. 91 Surfside, North Scituate, revampment. So I got to open that one. On April 24th, 2024, at the 6 p.m. meeting, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 191, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of the Town of Scituate for work related to repairs to an existing shoreline structure at location 91 Surfside Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting is available on the agenda posted on the website. And who do we have on?
I think Sean McCarthy, I saw his name pop up.
Okay, I'm looking for him, and David Smith, maybe?
No.
There he is. Okay.
Mr. Snow, you do have both David Smith and Sean McCarthy unmuted. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Sean or David, whoever wants to.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is Sean McCarthy from the DPW.
Evening, Sean.
Members of the commission. We're here before you tonight to discuss a notice of intent to repair some revetment damage at 91 Surfside. It was damaged during a declared storm event, so we're eligible for 75% reimbursement through a FEMA grant. And David Smith from GZA, our coastal consultant, has worked through the permitting with all of the state and federal agencies here, and he can go into a little more depth as to the actual work proposed for the site.
Thanks, Sean. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
We got you.
Okay. I was trying to put on the video and I can't, but that's okay. You can hear me. That's great.
Yep.
David Smith from GZA 144 Elm Street in Amesbury, here representing the town of Scituate. If you if you commission members recall, I was before you last month presenting two projects. One at Glades Beach that represented coastal engineering structures at 62 Glades Road and Glades Beach, and also 7 Surfside Road. And that, like Sean had indicated, was a FEMA funded, partially FEMA funded storm damage project. I also presented a project at the same evening for Seaside Road for some revetment and seawall repairs as well. So this, we called those sites Site 1 and Site 3. So this site, Site 2 being in the middle, we weren't able to file this at the same time frame as the other two, unfortunately, but here we are tonight. So this is a pretty minor project compared to the other two. And this involves repairs to a stone revetment that is fronting 91 Surfside Road. And 91 Surfside Road, as you can see in the plan, in front of you is the last house south on the southern end of Surfside, right at the very corner there before it gets into the cobble berm. So this section of stone revetment was damaged during the Juno storm event 2015, and it's about a 50-foot stretch where it's about 28 feet along the seaward face of the shoreline, and then it kind of wraps around that corner and kind of comes back to land as the grade and the beach come up. There is a concrete seawall, a concrete panel, steel H-beam seawall that is behind the stone revetment. The area that's still intact to the left of that red hatched area pretty much is like how it was when it was permitted back in the early 1990s. This stone was placed here as a result of an emergency authorization that the town did 1992, and it was after the fact permitted back in between 92 and 94. So that we're just doing some in-kind repairs to put it back where it was. The area in the red hatch is, it doesn't really show it in plan view, but the photos that are in the notice of intent application, I think there's 4 photos that show it pretty well in that corner where it's just missing, and you can see the exposed seawall in that location. So we just want to be able to put it back. We're going to utilize existing suitable stones and import some larger stones. Part of the mitigation is that we do want to use larger stones to hopefully resist this from happening again. So it's about a 50-foot stretch, about 28 feet extending within the existing footprint on the seaward side, again, wrapping around the corner, and then it transitions to about maybe 14, 15 feet at the narrowest part as the grade kind of comes up as you go landward. Access will be through the end of Surfside Road, up over the cobble berm with equipment. And that will be any access or any sort of impacts during that access of equipment will be restored back to its original condition. There is impacts to land subject to coastal storm flowage, coastal beach, coastal dune. It is a barrier beach, and then the repairs are actually within coastal bank. Those areas, both temporary and in-kind repairs, are listed in the notice of intent. We are looking to combine this with the other 2 sites. Unsure when that would occur. We're looking to probably have this done over the fall winter timeframe, but we haven't finalized the schedule yet. We did receive a MEPA determination that an ENF filing was not required for this site. It does have a Chapter 91 license, and we did receive a minor project modification from DEP. We do have a determination from 401 Water Quality DEP that a filing with them is not required. And we did just receive an Army Corps permit, which is the reason why this got held up and not filed with the others. That was delayed in comparison to the others. So we've got all our other permits in hand, state and federal. And with that, I'll stop talking and answer any questions you might have.
Frank, you're muted.
Thanks, Jen. Jen Foley, it's your sort of area.
Yeah, a lot to think through. I mean, obviously, any improvement is good. I know that there's often some sensitivity from abutters around the berm and driving over it or kind of construction in that area. So I'm interested to hear if there's any feedback from them on that. But at the outset, it sounds like obviously a positive project.
Okay. Why don't we go through the members and then the applicant can chime it back in. So Penny,
Yeah, no, not my concern, because I know you guys know what you're doing, but it just, the big equipment to go over the berm that's there, those big rocks, I just don't understand how they can go over it to get to the front to do the work. So that's, it's just, yeah, it just baffles my mind.
okay.
My Peapod mind, Frank.
It's a good question. Eric?
I think the only thing that catches my eye is the current condition of the existing seawall and how the placement of, those larger stones, would impact that. I mean, obviously this is to protect the existing infrastructure, but the existing infrastructure is maybe a little dubious looking from a layman's eye. I just didn't know how the placement of those large boulders would impact that.
Good. Jen, do you want to comment on anything here?
They covered it. The DEP comments were about other licenses needed, and they've done that. And then any other letters were about how the work should be conditioned. But I think we usually have those conditions anyway.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one? Anybody in the audience for this one?
Mr. Snow, you have no hands raised.
Okay. Sean or do one of you just want to address how they get equipment to this?
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. Hopefully Sean can agree with me here, but it's not really shown very well on this drawing, but where that vehicle is shown, where the sort of the black dashed line comes off of it, and there's a note that says access. There is kind of an access way sort of built into the backside of the berm, and I know that historically that's been used in the past to access the area in front of Surfside Road to the north. It was also used to restore the cobble berm, I know, in the late 90s and I think early 2000s. So there is, you can kind of walk up. It's almost like a ramp, an access ramp per se. That black dash line, that may not be the exact location where we access. It might actually be further up the ramp, and maybe where it said 0 Surfside Road, that black line could be skewed a little bit over there where it's a little easier. But I envision that, it's either going to be a crane with a clamshell bucket that's been used, before with setting revetment stone along Surfside, or a decent sized excavator with a grapple, and they would, basically get to a point where they get up onto the work site. The ideal situation with any imported stone is that a truck would basically back up to that ramp and they could pick the stone off of it from sitting on top of that berm. and then be able to just kind of transit down to the work area. So I don't, you know, that berm shape varies as far as height and shape, you know, pretty regularly depending on storm conditions, but you know, certainly we don't want to leave the site with any sort of compromise to that berm. We understand it is important. I know the recent nourishment that did take place there, so we certainly don't want to impact that in any way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You had a question, or one of the commissioners had a question about the seawall. The seawall is privately owned. You know, and I agree that it's not in the best of conditions. I'm looking at one of the photos that's in the narrative, and the idea is to, you know, basically be as careful as we can, place the stone up against it, and the stone is going to act as a protection there. It would be great, you know, if we could do some repairs to the wall, but that's not part of this project. The town is responsible for the revetment. The owner, is as I said, it's the wall itself is privately owned.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
David.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't say, just one quick question. Are you planning on bringing in all new stone, or are you trying to rearrange some of the material that's there?
Yeah, what we're going to try to do is within the access of the equipment and the work area itself, we're going to utilize existing stones. What we're careful that we don't want to do is go and salvage stones. We don't want to dig up the whole beach in order to look for stones or, you know, really create an issue. But if it's, we agreed, and this is some communication we had with CZM as well, that if it's a, you know, a stone that's at the surface and it falls within the range we're looking for, I think there's 4 to 12 ton stone out there. We'd like to have it on the larger side. We would utilize that and certainly minimize the amount of new stone we bring in. So it's going to be a little give and take. You know, we'll try to utilize what we can. Again, we don't want to excavate or mine the beach for this stone, but we do have an item to be able to bring in compatible, you know, supplemental stone.
Okay, great. I think it's better if a lot of the material can be left there. It's been kind of rearranged by the tides and storms. And time you start to move that around, you can sometimes just destabilize other areas. So it would seem like that would be the better choice. And then I wouldn't worry too much about the access. I mean, these machines, they can always regrade a little bit of what they have to do to crawl in and out and put it back when they're done. Is that, I'm assuming that's part of the, anyways, you said to restore it. So
that's correct. Yep.
Yep. Okay. I'm good. Anybody else?
And
Oh,
I'll make a motion to close.
okay. That's a motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Eric
Yes.
and Frank? Yes. Great. Sean, David, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
B is Lot A, Booth Hill Road. They're requesting to continue to May 6th.
I make a motion, we continue 0 Booth Hill Road to May 6th.
Motion from Penny, a second.
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Eric
Yes.
and Frank? Yes. Thank you. 817 Country Way. That's just been continued from 4/1. Somebody from Grady Consulting.
Let me assist here. Kevin Grady, if you are there from Grady Consulting, you should be able to unmute yourself right now. Mr. Grady, are you there?
Yep, I am here. Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Did we have anybody from, looks like Bill Ornberger's got his
Yeah.
hand up.
Mr. Orenberg, you should be able to unmute yourself right now.
Thank you.
Mr.
Good evening.
Sosa.
Good evening, everyone. Bill, would you like to open or would
Yeah.
you like me to, okay.
Yeah, just in brief, just to give you a procedural detail. The planning board went through, has issued, the permits for this. They became final. They've been recorded at the registry of deeds actually today. And until we had the final layout and final delineation of this, we continued this, meeting for a few times. So we're all set now. And, Kevin, I think Kevin will answer any questions, pertaining to this. We had a prior presentation, but it's been a little while, so Kevin, whatever you think's appropriate.
Sure. Thank you, Bill.
And,
Let's see.
I appreciate your wanting to, when I try to keep it on the simple side, we're gonna lose a member at 8 o'clock, and if we don't, move through this fairly quickly, we won't be able to vote on some of the things, so.
Understood, Frank.
Thanks.
Thank you. As far as impacts to the conservation jurisdiction, there have not been any significant changes to the plan. We, had a lot of iterations with the planning board on site distances and handicap accessibility and things of that nature. But there are only a few buffer zones associated with this property. There is a river front area across Country Way to the east. The project is separated from the riverfront by Country Way. Impacts from construction, there'll be no impacts to from erosion, sedimentation, et cetera, during construction. The stormwater has been thoroughly reviewed by designed and reviewed by the peer review consultants for the planning board. And so we believe that is in compliance with stormwater. The other resource area associated with the project is to the west, behind building number 3. All work has been kept out of the 50-foot no disturb zone, and none of that area has changed at all. Our last meeting was November 13th. The only note I had was to address from the commission at that time was from one of the abutters requesting us to install double catch basins at the bottom of the driveway hill, which we've accommodated. And other than that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, great, thank you. Jenna, Smith, are you okay? We'll work through members and your comments after that.
Yes, and then is this the screen that's helpful for people to see?
Um,
I mean, it has the riverfront and the 100-foot buffer, so it's just those two outside areas.
Yeah.
I think that's good to start with.
Okay.
So Penny, this is North Scituate.
Yeah, it's in North Scituate. So you're taking down the old apartment buildings, yes?
No, building number 1 is to stay. They are going to reside that and freshen up the exterior. That
Okay,
building is going to stay, and then buildings 2 and 3 are going to be new buildings, and
They're gonna
the
be-
buildings in the rear will be removed.
okay. Okay. No, I really don't have, as long as you're out of the buffer zones, and I guess we need the housing, so there you go. I don't really have any major questions right now. Thank you.
Okay. Eric,
Septic, yeah.
Eric, did this come to the commission at
I
probably
think right.
before
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
started?
Yeah, this was prior to my my joining the commission, so I'm not as familiar as the rest of the members on this project.
Okay. Do we have is either Richard or Brendan joined the meeting?
I did not see them.
Mm.
No, they're not in.
Okay.
Mm.
Um,
And Foley.
I'm going to ask Jen, but I'm a little concerned when we get to the end. Well, we won't be able to vote
No,
anything other than to, well,
Them to
let,
close.
yeah, let's see who, if we have any questions or other comments. Okay. Anybody in the audience for this project?
Mr. Snow, you have no hands raised in the audience.
but did Jen Foley get to speak?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jen. No, she didn't.
Well, we got two Jens, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Penny.
No, I don't think I have anything. I guess maybe if we put some conservation markers along the back line.
Always
But
helps.
that would be the only thing that I would call out.
I think those are incorporated into the plan set.
Oh,
They,
okay.
that you probably can't see them on this sheet.
Yeah,
We also have a post and rail fence on the top of the retaining wall behind building 3 is a deterrent from access, etc.
Very
okay.
good.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm good, Frank.
Okay, thank you. Jen Smith.
Everything's good with planning. It's through with Board of Health. I do remember seeing the markers on the back. And I guess I'm just not sure what else you can do other than close.
Yeah, the impacts for conservation have been pretty insignificant. We did address a few things early on. So,
And we would, a lot of the stormwater information we would put in our orders also.
okay.
Can I, Bill Arnberger, if I could recognize Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
The only thing I'd point out is in that decision, and I believe, Jen, you have a copy of that.
Mhm.
There is kind of an exhaustive stormwater information. The decision is many, many pages. And I think when you review that, it may be for draftsmanship to incorporate that by reference might be easier because this initially was a much denser, larger project that over a
Yeah.
period of time in response to concerns has been reduced, and it's a fairly modest development that's here right now. And what my question is, maybe I missed the procedural point, and I know you're going to close the meeting. And what I was wondering is if it was possible, because you have quorum to vote this, subject to the agent and drafting this with whatever the standard commission conditions are that you put in these projects, because of the fact that this is just two buffer zones that are the only things that were in here. Everything else, but we spent about well over a year process. This has been very, very well vetted by the by the planning board and the town's consulting engineers on all issues.
So Bill, the only dilemma I have a little bit is so much a worry to close it, but Eric was not a member when this project started. He's relatively new. This is stretched out for a fairly long period of time, to your point, with lots of changes. So just thinking out loud about that. I don't think I have a problem with it closing, but I'm just wondering about to close and issue. Typically it would be ideal if we had a member that had been involved in this since the start. Do you follow me?
Yeah, no, I follow you. I just thought the nature of the interest of the commission in this were this isn't I consider they're not as significant as usually the other things are. And Kevin Grady, correct me if I'm wrong, is everything relating to any the Wetlands Protection Act is actually town planner does a nice job, and she's basically called out, and we've documented on, I don't know how many sheet plan it is, Kevin, if it's 10 or 12 or whatever it is. I think all that stuff's in there.
In her, in the conditions from the planning board.
Yeah, I just, again, I'm sure this has been thoroughly vetted. There's been lots to discuss, lots to work on. It really hasn't, the involvement of the Conservation Commission has been fairly insignificant compared to the planning board. Mine is more just a procedural thing. I'd just as soon get this wrapped up.
Books.
But I'm just not sure it's appropriate for Eric to vote.
Is this a quorum issue of some sort?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
only have 4 members tonight, one of which
And
wasn't
without
here in
Eric, we don't.
November. Wasn't a member in November. So we can vote to close, and then I would hope at the next meeting, have an appropriate number of people.
Oh, to go over the orders, to
Right,
vote the orders, Jen?
correct.
Yeah.
Would that work, Frank? I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I'd mention, and again, we'll defer to whatever the commission obviously seems appropriate, but a majority of the quorum is 3, and the 3 members here have got this. But with that said, just question is, if we close this, when do you think the decision would be voted on? That's all.
When's our next meeting?
May 6th, so a week and a half.
Okay, and would we have an opportunity just to see the conditions beforehand, that meeting, even if it's the day before?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
All right. I think
Then
that would be
I got it.
procedurally, that's probably the correct thing to do.
Okay,
All right.
We vote and issue that same meeting.
We're gonna
you
vote to
it
close.
tonight.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
Whatever
So I'll
makes
take
everyone
I want
happy.
a motion to
I'll
close.
make a motion to close.
All right. That's Penny. Do you have a second?
Second from Jen.
Jen, Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
16 Lighthouse, there's a request to continue, and they'd like to go to May 6th.
I make a motion, we continue 16 Lighthouse Road to May 6th.
Second
Yes.
from Jen.
All in favor, Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Okay.
Oh, Crescent.
0 Crescent Ave.
Yeah.
We have, I know we should have Attorney DeLisi on.
Mr. DeLisi, you should be able to unmute yourself.
I just did. Can you
Thank
hear
you.
me?
We can.
Fantastic. Okay, so jumping right into this, just to remind the
Oh, and Darren Grady, somebody want to unmute him?
yes, Darren's here. Yep. Darren's covering for Paul Marabito tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So just to remind the commission, this is this project seeks to construct a home on a buildable lot, which is currently still in the same form of ownership as the adjacent lot at 40 Crescent Ave, which contains a single-family dwelling. And the entire area of the lot which we are seeking to construct the home on is currently previously disturbed. It is a grassy area with some trees and small vegetation. And the home that was designed in such a fashion as to accommodate a person of disability who needs to have to live on the first floor entirely. So what we have is, since we were at the hearing, we've gone back, listened to the commission's concerns, and we've made some very positive revisions to the plan. Number one, we have taken some land area from the house to the left at 40 Crescent Ave, which is still owned by my client. and added it to this property to make this property wider, so that allowed us to move the dwelling closer to the street and still comply with the zoning bylaw. There is a very small portion of the back right and back left corners of the house that are still bleeding into the 50-foot strip, but a very small portion nonetheless. We've added a silt sock behind the house in order to protect the slope and the coastal bank during construction. We've added an 8 to 10 foot wide swale and planting strip along the rear of the property and up along the side behind 40 Crescent. That will serve to protect and stabilize the coastal bank, or the top of the coastal bank, which right now is bare and completely unprotected. So we believe that this strip actually will improve and stabilize that bank. We have removed the bituminous concrete driveway that is behind 40 Crescent. As a bonus, it is going away and will become a grassy area. There is no need to have it anymore because it's not connected to a driveway that connects to Crescent Avenue. We've shown properly the trees on the property. Along the right side, pine trees will be saved, but in the rear, there are a few cherry trees that will be removed. We don't think that that would be an issue given the planting area. Remove the split rail fence. There's no need for it since we have created this area to demarcate and define the bank and protect it. We have created a stabilized construction entrance towards the street. We have created an operation and maintenance plan for the pervious driveway pavers. Incidentally, the planting plan was created by Brad Holmes, and he has a maintenance schedule on there as well. And the calculations have been revised, and significantly, with the removal of the concrete driveway, there's actually a decrease in an overall decrease in the amount of impervious area, and that by more than 600 square feet. I wanted to mention to the commission that there was some discussion at the prior hearing about whether we counted the seawall revetment as pervious or impervious. When we came in with our notice of intent plan, it was considered to be impervious, and your review engineer did not think that was correct, so it has been corrected. And it's now considered to be entirely pervious. This revised plan has undergone review by your peer review consultant, Deb Keller. You have a letter in your file. I believe it indicates that she's satisfied with the changes. She asked about the cherry trees, which we are going to remove behind the house. And she suggested a condition that allowed that provided that we have an area for staging and stockpiling that is outside of the 50-foot strip. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Okay. Jen Foley.
This is, I think, the first time I'm seeing this one. So I appreciate all of those helpful details. I might have missed it, but I love the idea of the number 40 garage or driveway going away. How are they going to get into their house?
They're not going to be utilizing the driveway for vehicles, and they'll just be getting in their house. They'll have to make arrangements along the top outside of jurisdiction. whether that be an easement or something to that effect.
Okay. Um. Yeah, and I don't love the anything in the 50. So I I love the idea of a, very accessible home project. So, want to do what I can to make that happen. I think that's great. But things in the 50 are not my favorite. That's it for me, Frank.
The
Okay.
only thing I would say about that, Jen, is the performance standard would be that we don't I think, forget the word, not destabilize, but we don't diminish or affect adversely the bank, the coastal bank. And in this case, we took great pains because we're working within the 50 to stabilize it. So that'd be my only point in response to that. I understand you don't like work in the 50. It's certainly not something that, we knew that coming in, but we had specific criteria for this house. And in order to grant variance to that standard is no adverse impact. We think we meet it. So thank you.
Penny?
Yeah, Jeff, did you say you weren't gonna put the post and rail fence in front of the planting area?
Yeah, I mean, we don't
Why?
think it's the planting area itself is really the signal, you can't walk here. So we've removed it, yes.
I have a little bit of an issue with that because we were just at a site that the plantings, people seem to slowly eliminate or make the area smaller. So I personally like the post and rail. It's not an eyesore, but it definitely delineates, the two areas because the rest is all grass. And I just have seen too often that all of a sudden the planting areas get smaller and smaller. So I personally would like to see the post and rail on the backside here, but that's me.
Okay.
I'm done,
So
Frank.
unreasonable, Penny.
I'm just awful, as you know.
Yeah.
Okay, Eric?
So, first I want to acknowledge, thank you for all the work that you guys put in to address some of the concerns that we had in our prior meeting. Buffer strip looks good in terms of the planting. I mean, and maybe you could refresh me because I know that this was a topic that we talked about during the first meeting, but looking at the plan, basement elevations at 30, we are going into the 50. I mirror Jen. I typically don't like anything going into the 50, but understand the complexities of this lot specific. On the lower side, the lower left portion of the house, how is that going to be? How is that grade going to be addressed? Is that just going to be, you'll be cutting in on the other side? Is there going to be any grading after the construction of the basement foundation at elevation? Was that 28 and 27 to bring it up to 30, or is it just going to be exposed foundation there?
Darren, do you have the answer to that question? He's
He is
got his hand
raised.
raised. He
Yeah.
has his hand raised, but he must have been knocked off.
Yeah, I was knocked off. Sorry about that. So there's a proposed retaining wall shown up in the rear of the building. We show elevation 30 at the pervious pavement patio and 29 getting the grades. The rest of the grades would be existing around that lower corner.
All right, thank you. I see that.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to hear from Deb?
Yes, please.
She needs to be unmuted.
Let me assist there real quick. Ms. Keller, you should be able to unmute yourself. You go right ahead. There you go.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I think that was my mistake earlier. As Jeff reviewed, he covered basically my whole letter. So we did update the plans and address my comments. And I think it was noted that the cherry trees in the rear yard near the bank are to be removed. I think the only other thing was just whether or not the commission wanted to consider a condition of approval to have a plan shown or have the contractor identify the locations for staging and stockpiling prior to construction, just so that you're aware of where everything is going to be located on the site during construction. And we minimize work in the 50-foot buffer as much as possible.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions if needed.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for reviewing this. I'm sorry, Penny?
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just answered my question on the plan. I'm sorry.
Okay. Jen Smith?
What about the other trees along the side? I know that one's
Yeah,
in the footprint of the house, but are all of them coming out?
No, those are actually to remain. Those are pine trees along the side yard. And those will remain. You'll see to the right, it says line to remain underneath the 44 existing dwelling. Existing trees, easterly property line to remain.
Just for clarification, that's all of them all the way up to Crescent Ave, correct?
Yeah, we went out and
April.
surveyed that after
Okay.
the last hearing.
Great.
There's not much. It's pretty open.
Yeah.
Pretty
Mhm.
open lawn. And I'm receiving a message from my client who's telling me that Penny on the split rail fence, she says that that's a very steep grade over there and that she doesn't typically see anyone down that way in any event, but
Oh, you never know. I've seen worse, Jeff.
Mhm.
Been doing this a long time.
I guess, do we need to know what the status of the splitting of the lot is?
No, I've checked with the building inspector. He doesn't see a reason to go back to zoning because we would be adding land, and the land that remains over at number 40 would not be rendered illegal. It would still comply with zoning. So the only thing that we need to do is go back to the planning board to sign a new A&R plan with this new slightly revised property line. And they've already created a precedence that they will sign a plan. Their chief focus is access and frontage, and it has both. So it's really just an administrative issue.
But 40 has access?
From the
40 has that 40 has access, and it also has frontage as well because it's right on the street. So whatever their plan is to, park cars, I'm sure they'll probably create like a little driveway up along the street or whatever. It's not like access is prevented, right? There's no retaining wall at the street level like there is in Country Way on those lots near Aberdeen. There's no, highway guardrail to prevent access. It's open.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience on this one?
Mr. Snow, you have no hands raised.
Okay. I just want to make a few things clear. So when I look at a note here, there's a note, it's sort of off the house, and it says remove 2 trees with arrows planting to, pointing to those.
Yeah.
I don't see that it's calling out to remove the other cherry trees that are nearer the
No.
ocean, the coastal bank, so those aren't being removed, am I right?
So it does not contain that note, which is one of the, I think, reasons why Deb flagged it. And that is being, those trees, those cherry trees behind the house near the coastal revetment are being removed. They will be removed. It's the pine trees along the side and the maple trees along the side that will remain.
So I'm sorry, these, I don't know if you can see me circling, these
Yes.
cherry trees are being removed?
Yes,
Yes.
those two, but the ones up the
Why?
side are staying.
These are the ones that are staying over here next to the corner of the house?
So
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time with my screen here.
So
Um,
it looks like the trees that are gonna, what he's saying are gonna stay are on sort of the northern property line.
yes,
The property line that abuts number 44. So you're gonna leave that vegetated, but you're asking to remove, and then there's it looks like there's a maple tree that's almost in the driveway, a 16-inch maple.
Yeah, it's gonna come out.
I would assume that's being removed.
It
No,
says
that-
remove tree, yeah,
that's outside your jurisdiction anyway, though.
Okay.
yeah,
yeah.
but
Good to know.
Yes.
yeah,
But I'm sorry, but it does have that note. But the two trees
Down
that
by the vegetation that's being proposed, those trees are being removed.
or
That's
they're
correct.
being requested to be removed.
Yes.
Mm.
I would also add to that there is noted a double cherry tree right off the corner of the left-hand, or excuse me, looking plan view, right-hand corner of the proposed home that is also, yes, exactly that one. Just clarification, I assume with the conversation we're having, that is asked or requesting to be removed as well.
That's
Yeah.
correct. And one of the reasons why these trees are being removed is because they are in a very poor state. Their branches are falling in every single storm. They're not doing well in this particular environment. So that's one of the reasons why they're just going to be coming down. So it would be the two trees on the east side behind the revetment. And one of the reasons, again, why we believe it's not going to be problematic to the coastal bank, to the top of the coastal bank, is because that area is being protected by the vegetative swale. As far as the double cherry tree that will be coming down, the trees that will remain are those trees which are along the side of the home from basically the revetment up. The pine trees, and then there are some maples that will stay as well towards the street.
Jeff, just a quick question, not to pick nits, but who was the one that determined that those trees were in poor health? Was it a certified arborist by any chance?
It's my client who's been living there.
So not a certified arborist, that's correct.
My understanding is she has not hired an arborist to give her that determination, but when the trees are
falling apart.
falling apart, that's how she made that determination. Yes.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was a,
No,
professional
no. There
having
was
looked
not
at
an
it.
arborist, no.
Okay. And the mode of removal, to what extent will the root zone, is there going to be stump grinding? Do you have any details on that?
I don't have any details.
Right.
I don't know.
Right,
So
thank you.
that's Eric, that's something we could, as part of the orders, we can discuss that and
The best thing to do.
see which makes the most sense. Is there any proposed replacement of trees?
Other than the extensive planting area?
Well, the
No,
plants are all shrubs and stuff, but there's no actual trees of any height proposed.
that's correct.
Don't want to mess up the view.
Well, it's too bad they couldn't put something in the front yard.
We'd
Okay.
be happy to put trees in the front yard, sure.
Okay. Um,
Looking good.
And we're okay with all like runoff coming from the house towards the bank?
Ask Deb.
So, what they've done within that vegetated, strip is provided a swale area to allow the water to run off the site and into the vegetated area where it could be reabsorbed into the ground and absorbed by the vegetation there to minimize and help, mitigate the runoff prior to flowing over the bank.
you can see that, like the dark green strip in
Darker.
the,
That strip in the
and-
middle.
Yep.
in the middle. It's,
Yep.
it's just off the screen that you're showing.
No, it's on the screen, Frank, you just.
Oh, no,
need to
you can
report.
see that, but I'm sorry, there's a cross section that's not showing.
Okay,
Yes,
There's a planting strip and swale that's,
where am I going? Up or down?
bottom right, or
Bottom
down,
right.
go the other way,
Yeah.
right there.
Yep, there you go.
Okay,
so we've intentionally kept that kind of a shallow swale at Deb's request. Because you don't want it to be too deep for some reason or another. So I think the concept of not having it too deep is because you don't want it to destabilize anything.
Mhm.
Correct. But it allows the water to slow down as it's coming over to the bank before if it, you get that much water before it flows over, it slows it down and allows it to run off as it would, in existing conditions.
Yeah, and mindful of the fact, where we started this discussion at the last meeting is that bank on that side being the revetment, it doesn't function. This serves no function. So it can't be degraded the way a typical bank would be degraded, I guess is my point. Because it's reinforced by the revetment behind it. But in any event, it's there.
Okay. Anybody else?
so we mentioned trees in front, is that,
We're gonna put those in the orders, Jen.
okay,
So I think it definitely is not when I first was commenting, I was commenting based on what I felt like I was seeing on this plan. And it's not accurate based on the conversation. So we definitely would need an updated plan. And given the removal of several trees, regardless of their perceived health, without a certified arborist saying that they are sad and sick, I definitely would want more remediation if we're going to be building in the 50 and removing these trees.
What about the
Jen,
plan?
Jen, can you just elaborate your first part of the comment?
The plan is not reflective of the conversation around what trees are being removed and not. So when I first spoke, it looked like many of these trees were staying, and this area before the coastal bank was kind of going to be more maintained and boosted, as opposed to, it's definitely, I'm not saying that there's not going to be investment into this. Like, there are many shrubs and plants and all of that. That's wonderful. But the trees are coming out, you're building in the 50, or you're requesting to build in the 50. Either, like, something needs to give here.
So if you wanted to put a condition in that required the trees to be inspected by a certified arborist and determined to be whether they ought to be removed in that person's opinion, that's fine. But there would be no reason to revise the plan in the event that you were to put that kind of condition, because right now, because that condition would be determinative of whether they're removed or stayed.
Well,
So-
your plan, okay, so I understand what you're saying, and I guess I would prefer the trees stay, and I would also prefer more remediation. I'm not the only person on this commission though, so like that's my perspective. And
But I think, Jen, if I could just kind of maybe recap what you said, and I think it
Yeah.
is a little bit frustrating. I mean, there's clearly places where the trees were going to be removed, and you've noted it. But what's disappointing is there's a couple of trees here that didn't have that, and maybe wouldn't have even been, there's three of them at least that wouldn't have known that if the question weren't asked, which seems a little concerning. But it seems like if we're down to an issue of trees, I'm wondering if we can think about within the orders to either leave them, or better yet, maybe replace them with trees that would just take their place. I mean, what we're trying to do is hang on to some of these if these trees have seen better days. And I can't speak that I've seen these, but I'm pretty familiar with being on the cliff. And when they get to be that size, that usually is about it for them, just based on other sites that we've worked on. I mean, they do get a lot of
They
just
get beat up over the years.
yeah, but maybe the better solution, if what we're trying to do is keep vegetation and trees. We've got a strip that's all shrubbery and stuff. Could we just require that a tree of a certain caliper, maybe Eric can help us with that, be replanted in the approximate area of these trees? And that includes the front yard as well. Eric, your thoughts on?
Yeah, I think that, if that's the option that is selected, and a replacement, I think is, an in-kind replacement for those that are removed, with a similar flowering schedule, that provides some ecologic, services as the cherries do currently, then yeah, I think that could be amenable.
Jen, how do you feel about that?
I feel great.
So they're either
I'm
going to be
assuming you were talking to Jen with one N as opposed to Jen,
Jen,
our
right?
conservation agent. Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to go by last names.
Yeah, we can't do that, but maybe we'll add a.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I think that's a reasonable way to do that. I think we can write the orders to make that fairly clear. If I just, for the sake of closing a few of these, we keep leaving things open.
Mhm.
I just as soon see if we can add that and close. Okay.
Is there anything we should, I guess I'm also, they are proposing work on what is 40 Crescent. I know it's all the same owner.
Yeah, good point. Jeff, what do you think? I mean, should there be a separate something on the deed or whatever? How does that carry over?
You're
Well,
removing a driveway and planting.
so long
Yeah.
as so long as the order is recorded prior to the conveyance,
Yeah.
then the order will encumber the combination of the lots.
Okay.
So you can put a condition that requires it to be required. For practical purposes, I'll be recording it within a month, and that would be prior to the closing in any event, but because we still have to go back to the planning board, but you can put it as a condition that it be recorded prior to conveyance, and that would serve to lien the property and encumber both.
That makes sense to me.
Yep.
Jen Smith? You follow that? Right,
So we're,
The-
we're conditioning a second
the
house
property-
built before
the
it's
pro-
split.
The property is being conveyed, all of it is being conveyed to a single buyer. So it's that buyer's buying the package, buying both 40 Crescent and the vacant lot.
so, but right now, it's truly not a vacant lot. We're talking about 0 Crescent Ave, but that really hasn't been, eventually that'll have a number. It'll be 42 or something like that, because
Correct.
zero Crescent Ave is only 0 until there's a structure and the town can give it a number. So
Yep.
right now, this order is gonna go on that whole parcel, the number 40 Crescent Ave. That order is gonna be on that whole parcel.
Yes.
Okay. So that makes sense to me. So, and if we do that, you could say that they're not gonna convey this till they have a set of orders. That's what they're looking for.
100%.
So we have it recorded before it's split, so it winds up on that whole parcel.
Yes.
That makes sense to me.
Do we want to say anything about the timing of the removing of the driveway at 40 Crescent?
Um,
Does that make sense?
I
I
would say
just, I
that,
don't like, just once everything gets split up.
yeah,
I don't want to like have it forgotten that the removing of that driveway is part of the numbers for the new build.
So the removal ought to occur, I believe, prior to the installation of the foundation of the home to be constructed on 0 Crescent, because you need access to remove it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you want to put a condition that says that, that's what's going to happen, and it's more precise that way. We're perfectly fine with that.
Jen, the other thing maybe to add to that is that the erosion control needs to be carried over to include the removal of the existing driveway.
The silt sock?
Yep.
It extends all the way up to the side of the dwelling.
It does, but when you remove that existing,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sure.
so
Yep.
that silt sock just needs to follow the vegetated, the plant strip, and sort of connect to that concrete walk or whatever. So when that is removed and reloomed, that has a silt sock around it.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Okay. Does that cover everything that we can think of tonight?
Think so.
Mm.
Okay. And again, we don't have anyone in the audience for this?
Nope.
Okay. I would take a motion on this.
We're gonna close, right? Yes.
I would say
I make a motion to close.
Penny, a second.
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yep, you too.
Number 9, Mitchell Ave. On April 24th, 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of AAMD for work related to construction of a porch on footings of a single-family dwelling at location 9 Mitchell Avenue, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting is available on the agenda posted on the town website.
Okay, and we have, I thought I just unmuted him, John Danahy, to talk about it.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, commission members and agent of the commission. I'm Attorney John Danahy. I represent the applicant here. It's actually Ron and Nancy Davis. And what they have is they are they have purchased from the town the old North Scituate Fire Station at auction. And they're going to renovate the old brick building and make it a residence, their residence. And the reason why we're here before you is that we are looking to add on the backside of the old building, the brick side, a deck. And that's actually represented on the photograph or the plan that you have here in the highlighted area of about 14 6 inches by 12 feet. And so we filed our notice of intent because we are in the land subject to coastal storm flowage. And there's the barrier beach. You can see from this just a little bit beyond it, and zone. And outside of that, we're here hoping for your support of it. I do want to point out one thing. It does represent or says a porch, covered porch. This is covered, okay? This is not like a roof. And
Okay.
what it is it's actually, I think, when I looked at it earlier and I saw that they used the word covered, I immediately contacted the client and the engineer saying, are we putting a roof on this? And the answer is no. What it is the basement floor, I think that's probably why they said covered, because they're saying it's going to be a deck. But that's a misnomer. It should be, it's a deck is what we're talking about. I do have, if you would like to see, the architectural rendering showing you that it is a deck that was not submitted, but I noticed that, you know, if you want to see what it's going to look like, but it's a deck is what it is.
Okay. I don't think we need to see that, John. I appreciate the clarification. Good. Glad to hear that that's what the plan is. Be a cool looking building when it's all done. So how about Jen Foley? This is back in your neighborhood.
We don't need to see the plans. However, I'm waiting with bated breath for something to happen at the site. So I'll be very excited. Almost to the point where it was, I guess I just want to make sure you're asking for everything you need, or everything that you're planning on doing on the site. I was just so surprised that we were here just for a deck and not anything else. Outside of that, I'm excited to see work happen here, and you're outside the 50, and the 100 for that matter.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, because when I did see the renderings, I had to actually go through, just as a point of reference. We had to appeal to the state because we were actually in two zones of flood zones, the FEMA. And so if you're in two flood zones, whichever one is more onerous, which happened to be the FEMA zone height 16, they're saying, well, you're going to have to raise everything up. And, you know, that's what the town had to tell us, and we did. But we appealed it and got a variance, so we're under the 12. I mean, you couldn't raise as in raising it up, the brick building, cinders. So
Right.
we submitted the plans, and I have to tell you, the plans look really, it's not going to really adjust much of the building itself. There'll be some dormers on the kind of shed dormers on certain sides, but everything else is going to be pretty much the same, with the exception that the door to the fire station will be a bank of glass. So I think everybody
Beautiful.
surprised by it. And unfortunately, I think the town, when you see the gazebo on the top, when they were trying to get the bell out of there, they ripped the roof off. So there's going to be a nice, shall we say, gazebo at the top, or cupola, I guess is the best way of putting it, at the top of the building. So it's going to be pleasantly surprised and very happy.
Great. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Penny?
No, my question John answered on the covered porch, which isn't gonna be, it's just a deck.
Yes.
Looks great.
Eric?
No further comment.
Jen? Smith?
Yes, I guess my question was, the barrier beach line is very straight. How did that come to be?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure, is Darren still here? because that's the area, although I'm wondering if that's, Jen, I can't really answer that for you.
Because the
I am-
the wetland line
I think we
made
get Darren
sense.
on, I think,
Okay,
I
Darren,
am still here. I think the Barrier Beach was taken off of the GIS map. That's why we've interpreted it that way.
and what are the, I think it said sonotubes for, it's just like 2 sonotubes or something like that for the deck?
Yeah, those will be placed out under for the footings, because it's gonna be attached to the side of the building, but then the sonotubes will go right underneath for the footings of the I guess you could say the pillars, if you will, that will go up on the first floor.
so there's probably a few of them there, whether they're poured in place or precast.
I would say, I think there's at least 4 from the representation of the architectural drawings. Let me see if there's any, I'm just checking to see if there's, I'm looking at the profiles.
I see 5 on the plan.
So there must be. Oh, yeah, you're right. Here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what it will be is 2
Okay,
coming out on the sides on the 12-foot spans. And then on the 14.6, 14 feet, 6 inches, there'll be 2 on the corners and then 1 in the middle.
yeah,
Okay.
yep,
So I think to Jen's point, the a lot of these lines, I think, Jen, in a lot of cases, when we don't have a site reviewed, we would just basically say that we're not accepting any of these resource areas.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate for this one. The
You know,
barrier beach line is, like I said, the wetland line, you can see the flags. It makes sense when you're there, but
Yeah.
the barrier beach is a very, it's just a line.
yeah. But I think given that the building already sits on a foundation,
Mhm.
I think this is an appropriate way to support that,
Sure.
and pretty non-intrusive.
Yeah, yes, I understand it. It's just a deck.
Yep.
And I think the grades, certainly the grades are not going to be, the existing grades, at least on the site, will be maintained. And unfortunately, my recollection, I haven't been there since the fall. I believe, and Jen, I know you, I think you walked it last week. I
Yeah.
believe that area where the deck is relatively flat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense having a deck there and you'll be able to walk out under it, or you could walk out. I don't remember if there's a door there or not, but
I think their proposal, that is not going to be habitable space. I know that because we can't have that on the basement floor. But there is going to be some form of a like a walkout, or at least to get in for purposes of like storage.
Mhm.
Excuse me, underneath.
Okay. And we've gone around. Do we have anybody in the audience with questions on this
Mr.
one?
Snow, you do. You have a Mr. Wall, Chip Wall. You should be able to unmute yourself. Just go ahead with state your name, address, and go ahead with your comment. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm here with my wife, Heather. We're next door neighbors at 11 Mitchell. Just curious, I think these questions were answered already, but I know it's been some time. So it sounds like the variances have been granted. So there's a plan to renovate and not tear down the structure, the existing structure.
That's what we were told. Yep.
Through the chair, yes, absolutely. It's not going to be torn down. So it's going to remain at its current level. And they're not going to remove any of the roof. If anything, there will be kind of like some dormers coming out of the roof. But no, it's not going to be raised to be elevated. We were able to get a variance through the state to be able to keep it at its current level.
Great. And so the additional structure that's proposed, it's actually at ground level. It's not a raised deck. Is that correct?
I think that's at the first floor level.
Mhm.
First floor level, so it's from the, it
will
is.
be elevated, so that from the basement, because the gradient goes down when you get to the back, because it pitches down. So if
Yeah.
you go backyard, on the first floor, you will be walking out, but you will be elevated, because in order to do so, you have to put it up to the
Got
first
it.
floor.
So it's at basically it's street level, in other words.
Yes.
Got
Correct.
it. Got
Correct.
it. Okay.
It's interesting. So they're not covering that deck.
Correct. Not covered.
Okay.
Great.
And the reason why I say it is because when I looked at it, I said, wait a minute, the architectural renderings, it's a deck, but they used the word, and again, I think that covered, or they put covered porch, and I think what they should have said was just, it's a deck with the
Yeah.
idea that the deck is covering the walkout, but that's,
Mhm.
it's not when I see porch, from my zoning background, it's like, okay, it's a covered area, and that's why I say it's a misnomer. It's a deck.
Okay.
Okay, that's clear.
Great.
Out of curiosity, though, how would we have access to the architecture
Renderings,
the
yeah.
renderings? Like, I would like to see those, but I know that that isn't what the purpose of this meeting is. But if you
Right.
could direct us to that, it would be helpful.
I would think you could do that either with the building department or contact this, and I don't mean to be,
But
we're gonna lose a member and then we can't vote on anything more tonight. So,
That's fine.
and
Yeah.
we have
We're
about
good.
5 more hearings to go through.
We're
So
fine.
you're saying that we should
we're-
approach the building department?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So,
And I can mention something in the orders that it's a deck.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks, John. So can I get a motion
I make a motion to close.
and a second?
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, and I just want to remind everybody that, so Jen Foley, what time are you have to sign off?
I can stay until 8:05.
All right, so let's just try to keep,
We can get
try to remain, we want to make sure we do everything that we're supposed to do, but if we could be mindful of that, we're gonna have to move things along.
Raise and rebuild, okay.
Okay, 54 Marshall. I'm gonna open this on April 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws, Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, and Section 32050 of the Town of Scituate Stormwater Bylaw regarding the application of Luke Daly for
Mhm.
work related to raising and rebuilding a single-family dwelling and associated driveway and porch at a single-family dwelling located 54 Marshall Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda post on the website.
And we have Paul Gunn from Morse Engineering, and this is being reviewed, so that hasn't happened yet, so we'll end up continuing it. So I don't know if you can be like super quick with.
Yeah, what I was also going to say is we have all these on here tonight. At some point, if we're not going to finish them, we're going to open them so we can continue them, so people don't have to re-advertise. So
Okay,
regardless of what happens, we're going to open all of these. So if it looks like it's going to get lengthy, we'll move to continue it. And you're saying this is going to have to get
this is going to
continued?
have to be continued, yeah.
Okay. So go ahead, Paul, if you could just give us a really short summary and.
Yeah, absolutely. So just for the record, Paul Gunn, design engineer at Morse Engineering, representing the applicant for the notice of intent and stormwater permit application for the raise and rebuild at 54 Marshall Avenue. The site currently consists of an existing single-family dwelling with an associated gravel drive, attached decks and porches, a detached shed, and a mixture of lawn and brush areas. The resource areas in question include a BVW to the west that was delineated by South River Environmental in April of 2023. The site also is in land subject to coastal storm flowage. Specifically, the dwelling lies in a zone AE, whereas the rest of the lot lies in a zone VE. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing building and build a new one with an attached deck in the rear yard and a reconfigured gravel driveway. All of the proposed structures will lie in the FEMA Zone AE and be built according to NFIP and FEMA standards. And to provide groundwater recharge, we're proposing 2 sets of subsurface drywall chambers in the front and rear yard respectively. All of the proposed work is to be done in previously disturbed areas, and all of these structures are proposed outside of the 50-foot buffer. An erosion control barrier is proposed to mitigate sedimentation into the resource area and will be left in place until the site's fully stabilized with loam and seed post construction. And finally, we've added 4 conservation posts along the west side, along the edge of vegetation that exists there currently.
Okay, thank you. So Jen Foley.
I appreciate all the effort to keep it out of the 50, and the already getting the conservation post in there. I'm thinking about the shed a little bit, but I'm good for now.
Oh, the
Um,
existing shed, yeah.
Penny.
Yeah, no, I don't have any comments right now, Frank.
Okay, Eric.
Yeah, at this time, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, do we have Jen Smith? What's your thoughts?
Nope, I did go see it, and they are trying to keep everything up in that corner as much as they can.
Okay,
But
and you're
we'll have more.
okay, and you're reviewing the wetlands lines or
Just the stormwater. They submitted a stormwater permit.
okay. So we want to continue this. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this one?
Mr. Snow, you have no hands raised.
Okay,
And we want to continue this to May 20th.
okay,
Yeah.
can I get that motion?
Yeah, I make a motion, we continue 54 Marshall Ave to May 20th.
It's a motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
All in favor? Eric?
Yeah.
And Frank, yes. Great, thank you. 9 Collier Road on April 24th, 2024, 6 p.m. The Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 4 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town Scituate Code of Bylaws and Section 32050 Town Scituate Stormwater Bylaw regarding the application of Kathy and Frank Nielsen for work related to raising and rebuilding a single-family dwelling and associated driveway, patio, utility connections at location 9 Collier Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend, and information to access the virtual meeting is posted on the town website.
Okay, and we have Paul Gunn and Deb Keller also reviewed the stormwater or the bank for it. All of the
Okay.
above. She reviewed it.
All right. Paul?
All right, so I'll try and keep this brief. So just again, for the record, Paul Gunn, design engineer at Morse Engineering, here tonight to represent the applicant for the NOI and stormwater permit for the raise and rebuild at 9 Collier Road. The site currently consists of an existing single-family dwelling with an attached garage, deck, and a mixture of lawn and landscaping on site. The current dwelling is served by subsurface utilities as well as overhead electric. To the east is a coastal bank, the top half of which lies on the applicant's property and is covered in brush, while the bottom half is stabilized by boulders and riprap. The limits of the coastal bank were delineated according to the DEP policy 92-1. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing dwelling and build a new single-family dwelling in its place. They are proposing a new pervious paver driveway, as well as a porch and pervious patio in the rear yard. 2 sets of subsurface drywall chambers are proposed to mitigate increases in runoff, as well as provide the required groundwater recharge and TSS removal. The proposed work is being done entirely on previously disturbed areas and doesn't require the removal of any mature vegetation. Furthermore, all the proposed structures are located outside of the 50-foot buffer, with the exception of a small set of drywall chambers and a generator on the northern side of the property. No work is being proposed to the coastal bank itself. An erosion control barrier has been provided to prevent sedimentation into mark out the limit of work, and a stabilized construction entrance has been provided at the point of access to the property. Post-construction, all disturbed areas are to be stabilized with loam and seed.
Thank you. And we have Deb on the call.
Yeah, yes, I'm here.
Great.
Yep.
Can you just want to comment on the coastal bank, Deb,
Sure.
in your review of the
Yes.
stormwater, I guess?
Sure, no problem. So the coastal bank on this one is pretty straightforward. There's a clear cut grade change or slope change along the top of the coastal bank. So we reviewed that. It is consistent with the policy. And I believe the coastal bank on this property is accurate. We also looked through the stormwater. We had a couple of comments which Morse Engineering has addressed. Clarification. I believe they added a patio detail so that we ensured that that was going to be a pervious patio. They already had the driveway detail included in the plan. I did ask for some inspection ports for the 2 dry wells, since they'd be used for, attenuation on the site for the roof runoff. The only other item I believe there is they have provided the O&M plans, and since this is quite a tight site, really the only area that they really have to use for construction staging is where the driveway entrance is. I would maybe ask for a little more clarification as to the erosion control runs around and utilizes the majority of the lawn between the house and the coastal bank. Maybe some clarification as to why that couldn't be tightened up. And I know they've noted that no grading would be there, but I would have to assume that maybe some more detail on that would be helpful as to whether or not we could tighten that up a little bit, or whether there is a reason to have the erosion control that far away from the house construction.
So I certainly think it can be tightened up. Obviously, towards the dry wells on the southern side, you'd want that to be over there. But yeah, I mean, you need a few, maybe 10 feet for access. But yeah, I think that could certainly be tightened up.
So I think that just the concern there would be is, again, for construction staging, we probably wouldn't want to see that within the 50-foot buffer. So if you could, just my opinion, the commission can do with it what they would like, but it might be helpful just to try to control the contractor so he knows where he can work and not work.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just go through the members. Penny?
Yeah. No, I don't have any real question. This stormwater basin, I guess I do have a question. Is that already there, or is
Yes,
that somebody else's?
That was an existing basin built on the abutting property.
Oh, so it is on the abutting property. It isn't on this property.
Yes, that bold line right there between the basin and the house is the property line.
Okay. All right. Other than that, no, Frank, I'm okay.
Okay. Jen Foley?
No, I think I'm good on this.
Okay. Eric?
I am pretty sure that this was opened initially before me being.
No,
Yeah, this was just open.
No?
Just open tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So just with the construction staging, the obvious, pinch point is, where the frontage is at Collier Road. So I think that Deb's comment is much of the staging and construction, staging it if there's any sort of, fill, storage area, that be kept out of the 50 as best as possible.
We do show a temporary stockpile area on the erosion control view, and that is shown outside the 50.
Yep. Excellent.
Okay.
Do Jen Smith, you want to, any other comment on this?
Well, it's to the part about having a tighter limit of work. Is there anything you can send us to show us that, or do I need to put that in the orders, or?
I can revise the plan certainly to show a tighter limit of work.
Okay.
Anybody, do we have anybody in the audience on this one?
Mr. Snow, you have no hands raised.
Okay. Just a quick note, where did they show the stockpile area? Either I'm missing it.
So if to the left on this plan, we have an existing conditions and erosion control view.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah. Shows the stabilized
Oh, I
construction
see.
entrance and
Okay.
as a temporary soil stockpile.
Yeah.
As it's been said, it's a very, very tight area, but there should be
So-
room outside the 50 for that.
Okay. Just as a person, as a contractor, when I'm looking at this and seeing how close they are to the other property lines and the road, I guess I'd be looking to have as biggest area with the erosion control so that I'd have a place to put some materials and just to work. There's almost no place on the site. And rather than have an issue with the contractor with this, I'm just wondering about the possibility of asking for like a double erosion control along the coastal bank area. It's fine to be single, but Deb, your thoughts on maybe like a double erosion control and keeping it
Where
fairly
it is.
close, maybe tightening it up a little bit, but otherwise they're just going to wind up driving over it because there's so much room to work there. I mean, that's the reality
Yeah.
of this site.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Frank. That's a fair compromise to make sure that the disturbance is
Yes.
appropriate for the construction, but doesn't overreach.
Maybe it's a combination of a silt sock and the silt fence with the stakes that usually keeps everybody back a little bit. And I think that would make sure things didn't go awry, but at the same time be realistic about what someone could do here. That's my own thought.
Well, I think it's a good thought, Frank. You do have expertise in that area.
I know I'd be frustrated. Otherwise, you'd be just everything's got to go off the site on the site. I mean,
Yeah,
we
I
can
hear you.
say stockpile areas, we can limit to a certain area, or they can talk to us about it. But I think that would be a fair way to let them do this project personally.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Want to close it?
Anything else? I would take a motion.
I make a motion to close.
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. All right.
And just for clarification, I'll get a revised plan to Jen with showing that doubled up erosion control and
Great.
just tightening up a bit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now we have 663 Hadley Road. On April 24th during the 6 p.m. meeting, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of William Armberger for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act or the Scituate Wetlands Bylaws for activity related to repaving and installing planter islands at location 663 Hadley Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting is available on the agenda posted on the website.
Hi,
We have-
Bill Arnberger. I'm here for Hadley Country Club. Paul Marabito isn't, he's done the plan. He's not here tonight. He's out of state good for him and for Barbara. Just very
Yeah.
basically, we're putting some new asphalt on the parking lot that has been, we're looking for a negative determination. Back about 3 or 4 years ago, we had to replace here a water pipe that was asbestos line that was not in good condition, which we got a negative determination for that. And at that time, Brad Holmes delineated the wetlands line, which is basically Phragmites off the backside of this. This shows a silt sock, and there's no increase in the amount of asphalt that is on here. Decoratively, we are putting in the area that is existing asphalt, 3 small islands to have some native grasses and vegetation. But the contractors, we have them we're gonna try to get this done this late spring or summer. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Jen? Foley?
Where's the third? Oh, I see the third planter now. Okay, I was only seeing the 2. And when you say parking maintenance plan, is there maintenance, like ongoing maintenance that you're proposing?
No, I just think, Paul, just all the normal maintenance
Okay.
goes with any parking lot. Yeah.
Okay.
There's actually, Jen, there's actually 4 planting areas because and I can't tell if it's the north or whatever. There's existing asphalt that's being taken up, and there's some native grasses that'll be putting on there also. So there's actually 4 of them for beautification.
Yeah. 1, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The wetlands line is obviously real tight on the parking lot side. I guess I don't know what else to say about that except to call it out. But I guess is there any proposed improvements in runoff as part of this repaving?
No, the existing parking lot there's a very small berm that basically tips all the drainage. Nothing goes into the marsh. What isn't actually marsh, it's a mass of Phragmites.
Yeah.
And there's a silt sock, so everything, there's a little berm there, so that exists already. So in other words, nothing real, no runoff really goes in there anyhow.
Okay, I'm good for now, Frank.
Okay. Eric?
No, I've got no comment.
Penny?
Nope, they're just sprucing it up. Good job.
Jen?
No, I guess you're repaving from Hatherley Road all the way to
Treasure Island.
right, Treasure Island Road, the end of that. And then the 4 planters.
Yeah.
Nothing, the footprint isn't changing.
Nope. Nope. Mr. Frank?
Do we have anybody in the audience?
Mr. Snow, you have no hands raised.
Okay. So, Bill, if I'm reading this right, they're gonna remove the existing asphalt and start from scratch, is that?
I'm not sure, they're probably gonna play it by ear, Frank, whatever the contractor recommends. Some of it, they might scour the top of it and in other words, to put stuff, in other words, I'm not sure what the technical procedure is that they follow, but they're gonna restripe this and I don't know if they're gonna leave the existing thing or part of the existing thing and pave, put an inch over it or whatever they're gonna do.
So these, I was just looking for a cross section, but I don't see it on these planting islands. It looks to me like they're trying to put a curb so they're elevated.
No, all they're doing is the ones that are there, there'll be concrete. In other words, that light concrete that'll be raised probably, whatever it is, 4 inches or 6 inches. And the one that is along inside the silt sock, it says in there, it's just the normal, it says 2 to 3 inch asphalt berm, which is consistent with the rest of the berm that's along that entire eastern side.
And it's just this corner, right? It's not
That's
the
right, yeah.
whole length of the road.
Yeah, that's already existing asphalt. The real purpose for that, other than beautification, is just to make it so that the people going into Treasure Island, that there's no, in other words, to make it so that no one parks a car or anything. There's gonna be a no parking sign, stuck in the berm too, so that someone doesn't interfere with access to that property.
The only thing I could say, Bill, I mean, I think repaving it and whatnot is needed. I've seen that before. Just the one question I would have, if they could get back on us, rather than like elevate these little strips, it would almost be better if they just had openings in the asphalt that they could plant, but that any water from the parking lot or whatever could some of that could go into that as opposed to running off. Do you follow me?
Oh, that's a great idea, Frank.
And maybe this is a detail we could just figure out, but you know, I know that they want to make this look a little nicer, and I think that's a great idea. And I think those are helpful to have some sort of vegetation there, but rather than put it up in something that's elevated where water can't go into it, is just have an opening, or they could line it with cobble or whatever. But if the water from the parking lot could actually enter those areas,
Yeah,
it would be a benefit. It would be a benefit.
Yeah, the one problem is the two furthest to the north and the one that's on the western side is part of this has to do with parking control too. So we want that on the one left-hand side, it says prohibitive parking. It's like a 6-inch berm. There already is. If you see there, it says there already are native grasses there anyhow, but the whole purpose of that is just so that someone doesn't park a car there.
I get it. So the one that's kind of V-shaped, I get that.
Right.
You want to protect that a little bit so people aren't driving over it. But the other ones, in my opinion, if unless someone, and I'm happy to look at it, but there's no detail on the plan. If these things were sunken, they could still have some edging of some sort of curb, and then they had plant material in them. Hopefully people wouldn't run them over, but
Well, they
maybe
run my
Frank,
island over, Frank, at the end of the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the reason that they have them there, Frank, is this is really a one-way parking situation where people come in on the right or the north-hand side, and then they exit on the left-hand side. And so, in other words, these are also directional. In other words, that there'll be like striping on the pavement and whatnot to bring the people around. And again, a lot of those, particularly those flat things, is this also has to do with our guys. They measured, in other words, for when trucks are in there or fire trucks or anything, to make sure that there aren't any obstructions. In other words, so that there's clearance all around here. Because in the past, what they'd used is, which are kind of ugly, and this is like sawhorses and other things along those lines with signs. And so this is something, if you have a chance to get some vegetation in there, and it's all impervious surface presently already. So in other words,
I get it. It is what we try to look for when people are renewing this is a little bit of additional benefit. I don't see why we can't close this, but in fact, we got to move this along quick. But if we
So just
could,
a quick thing to add, Frank.
yeah,
On a lot of sustainable urban drainage systems, having raised curbing, whether it's granite or pavement or whatever, segmented with a depressed interior, still will solve the issue of traffic deterrence flow as well as attenuation for surface water runoff. I just wanted to add that
Right. Bill,
there are engineered options.
Bill, if we could, I'm all for getting this closed, but I just think maybe we could come back at just an alternative that might work a little better for some of that. And that's a good point, Eric. You could still have that elevated, but with some openings and I don't know.
Yeah, well, why don't, if we want to close it and vote as a negative thing, just make a condition of this, because they really are, is that the two islands to the south here, that there'd be you know, subject to, you know, review prior to implementation, you know, in other words, review by the agent, so that there is from the side that water, in other words, can enter. So I'm sure they can get something where there's, in other words, that on the sides of these things, so water can enter through these, if that's what you're
Okay.
looking for.
That's what I'd like to see. And I think Eric made a good point too. If it's actually depressed in those areas, it adds for a little bit of storage. So maybe we could just take a look at that.
Yeah, so if you
And-
want
and
to
I-
put that, if you want to put that in as a condition that prior to this, you know, on those two islands, that we would, you know, submit to the commission and the agent to review that to make sure it's acceptable.
So Jen, we really don't have a set of orders with this, but we could make that part of their
We could add it
approval.
into the language. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll
Make a
take a,
motion for a -3.
that's Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, Jen, we have 7 minutes.
Yeah,
Barely, yeah.
What is the next one?
We got 14 Blueberry, which is
Those-
septic repair.
Okay, let's do that. See if we can do that, and then we'll see what the time is.
All right, so you're going to open that.
Yep. So on April 24th, 2024, at the 6 p.m. meeting, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Scituate and Marguerite Concanon for determination of applicability of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activity related to a septic repair in a single-family dwelling, 14 Blueberry Lane, Scituate. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend, and this available as the agenda, whatever. So this is Morse.
Yes, and yeah, he's there. Okay, Paul is with us, Paul Gunn.
Okay,
Hi,
Paul,
everyone.
try to do an abbreviated version.
Yep, absolutely. So just for the record, Paul Gunn, design engineer at Morse, representing the applicant for the RDA at 14 Blueberry Lane. So this site consists of an existing 4-bedroom single-family dwelling. To the west, we have a bordering vegetated wetland that was delineated by John Zimmer in September of 2022. The house is currently served by 2 leaching pits that are considered to be in a state of failure. We're proposing to upgrade the existing septic system with a new drip leaching field and advanced treatment tank. The only portion of the work within the buffer zone includes abandoning the existing system and installing a new hoot treatment tank. The work is limited to all previously disturbed lawn areas, and nothing's proposed within the 50-foot buffer. Post-construction, all disturbed areas will be stabilized with loam and seed.
Great, thank you. Penny,
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, I think. No
Okay.
question.
Jen,
yeah,
Foley.
nope.
Okay, Jen Smith.
Yep, just not accepting the line, and almost everything's out of the 100,
Yeah.
other
Yep.
than just connecting.
Perfect. Eric.
Yep. No questions.
Okay, and I don't see anything. You couldn't have done this one any better, Paul. So I'll take a motion. And do we
make
have
a
anybody in the audience? I'm sorry.
Mr. Snow,
That's
you have
all
no
right.
one in the audience.
Thank you,
I
sir.
make a motion for a -3.
George, it was second.
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Eric?
Yeah.
And Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 160 and 162 Jericho Road. Richard Clauser and Martha Campbell. Repaving and removing a grass strip and install grass in a different location. And do we have,
Yes, I'm
Um,
here for Darren Grady from Grady Consulting.
I'm just looking for my, okay. I gotta read this real quick, right? On April 24th during the 6 p.m. meeting, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Richard Clauser and Martha Campbell for determination of applicability, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, and Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activities related to relocating a grass strip, repave a driveway, and repaving a section of the grass strip removed at location 160 and 162 Jericho Road. Scituate abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Go ahead. Sorry.
This is an existing driveway that's in really tough shape due to the construction of the dwelling in the front here. We're proposing to repave the driveway, and we're proposing to new pavement, 199 square feet, and we're removing 210 square feet of the beat up pavement, and we're replacing it with proposed planters with turf and sod areas. And the resource area in it is the buffer zone to a coastal beach that's on the left-hand side behind the existing dwelling number 160. Some of the work where the pavement's being removed and the planters are being proposed is within the 50-foot buffer zone, but no new pavement within the 50-foot buffer zone. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Penny?
Yeah, well, my question is, it says existing big concrete drive, and then you're gonna do.
Okay, Penny, can I hold on?
Yes.
Jen Foley.
Yeah.
Jen Foley.
Yeah,
So we're down to 2 minutes. So you have to leave in 2 minutes, right?
we have 5 minutes. It's 8:05. It's 8 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Go ahead. I'm looking at this clock, which is a little ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. All right, Penny.
Oh, well, is bit concrete, what's bit concrete compared to pavement, Frank?
It's bituminous concrete. It's the same thing.
So it's exactly the same thing they want to replace. That's all. I just had that question. Thank you.
Yep.
I was thinking they were asking for something different.
Jen Foley.
Yeah, I think this makes sense.
Okay. Eric.
Yeah, no questions.
And it's grass, it's like level. You said planters. It's not like, it's not planters going in these great areas. It's just grass
It's-
level with the driveway.
Correct.
Planting areas, they should have said.
Yes.
So can I just ask, so there's the existing driveway and then you're adding 200 square feet more of pavement. But are you removing pavement? That's what I'm missing here.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're
up-
removing 210 square feet. So the
So those shaded areas are being removed?
Correct.
Okay. And they're being
Like a
replaced with
trade-off.
grass, and they're being replaced with grass.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Hmm.
Jen Smith?
No, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't like, a planter area up. 162 still has an open set of orders for being elevated. So that I'm hoping, just saying that out loud.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, they could have amended their orders.
Oh.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience?
You have no one in the audience, Mr. Frank.
I
Okay.
make a motion for a -3.
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, we're down to it.
Yeah, nah.
Thank you for your
Six-
efficiency.
Thank you. Have a good night. 606 CJC Highway, Town of Scituate on April 24th, 2024, during the 6 p.m. meeting, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Town of Scituate for determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activity related to repaving, resurfacing, and trimming vegetation along the trail off Utility Road at 606 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meetings available on this website.
And we have Sam Hess.
Good
Hello,
evening.
you guys hear? Hi, can you
Hey,
hear me?
Sam. Yep, Sam, you got to make it pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So, I mean, you pretty much summarized it, right? So this is an existing trail, paved trail. It falls under our interpretation of the regulations. It falls under repair maintenance work. We will be only working within like the existing trail footprint, and it'll actually result in a reduction in impervious area from 12,620 square feet to 10,590 square feet. So
Nice.
about just over 2,000 square foot reduction. And yeah, stormwater erosion controls are going to have silt sock on the entire work area, especially obviously in the wetland buffer zone. And then we're doing some retaining walls with 3-foot high boulder and rock, and we're maintaining all existing culverts. We're also going to be doing a gravel path that leads to the school athletic fields there from the trail. But that obviously that's going to be pervious, and there's an existing footpath to some extent there. There is going to be probably some obviously vegetation and tree limb trimming as part of this, but we don't anticipate any like tree removal or anything like that.
Yeah.
All
Hi,
right.
Mr. Chairman, Sean
Yes.
McCarthy with the DPW in
Oh,
Scituate.
Sean, I'm sorry. You had to hang out all night here. Wait.
Oh, that's okay. It's been fun listening. This is
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
this was a CPC request from residents in the area last year at town meeting. So we're just trying to bring this forward for the rehabilitation of the existing trail between the Cushing School and the Utility Road neighborhood.
Got it.
Even though
Okay.
the school's closing.
Well, it's used by the neighborhood.
Yeah, I know. No,
I
that's
actually
good.
I walked this at the request of somebody for CPC a couple years ago, so
Yeah.
it's definitely in need of it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know that.
Okay. Jen Foley.
I'm wondering if this now makes it, is what you're doing, make it ADA friendly?
Well, yeah, that was one of the requests of the design. I think the only
Okay.
problem you run into is as you try to meet Utility Road, you have two abutting neighbors on either side. And this is actually an easement that gets you up to Utility Road. I don't know, say if Sam has anything additional. I know he's got his hand up.
Yeah, sorry, I got unmuted. I muted myself again there. Yeah, our belief is it would, to the extent possible, it's going to be ADA compliant. I'm really not sure if it will meet all the full, federal requirements of ADA. Like Sean said, there is an issue there with the southern portion of the proposed project where you have the two abutting private properties off Utility Road. But we are going to do as much as possible, try to make it as ADA compliant as possible. It'll definitely be more accessible in the northern portion off Aberdeen Drive than it currently is.
Great. That's it for me.
Okay. Eric.
Just one question on the gravel resurfacing behind the bleachers there. I know that there's a steep grade change there from running that back in high school. Is there going to be concern about washout coming down? And how would that be stabilized? Other than that, that's my.
Yeah, most of that trail will pitch to the right opposite that walkway heading towards the fields. There's a depression right at the bend with the wetland tight. That's where the path will be pitched into that depression and not if you're coming off Utility to the left on the bend to shed the water towards that gravel trail. It'll shed opposite away from that.
Understood.
It's good to have everybody familiar with these spots.
Yeah.
Penny.
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay, Jen Smith.
No, I am good. Thank you.
Are they removing the asphalt and putting down new, or are they gonna be repaving over the top of it? Or-
No,
They're
they'll
gonna be
take-
fully removing all the current
Yeah.
asphalt.
Junk.
Okay. And did
Yeah.
there,
there are roots and boulders popping through it now.
oh yeah, no, it's pretty
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, we'll get all that out of there.
Okay,
Of a new sub base.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
okay.
Yep.
And is there erosion control shown on this?
Let's see. You have,
Yes.
I want to make sure we have the screen sharing here. This is page 2, the proposed plan.
Yes.
Yes, it is C2.
Got it. No, I got it. Sorry.
Okay.
Turn the page, Frank.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody in the audience for this one?
No one in the audience, Mr. Snow.
Wow, late on.
Very good. I make a motion
Attendance.
for -3.
It's
A
Penny.
second from Jen.
All in favor, Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Well, it's,
it.
I missed the other members, but with less discussion, we got through it all.
That was a lot to
Cer-
get through tonight.
Certificate of minor modification, do we have time for that? 184 Redwood Foster.
Does it need a vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just Bill Armberger, just very, very briefly, Joe and Katie Harold, there already is an outstanding order. The Historical Society wanted the shed on the property. Amy said, okay, gave us a letter that we could replace it with something else by another shed. Steve Litchfield's fixing it up and gonna put it down at the marina. And all what the Harolds have submitted to you is they're just gonna put a sitting area there. They're not gonna replace it with another shed. So it's less than what was there, and they've already let Steve already has taken his work on rehabbing it now.
So at the end of that property, there was a
Yeah.
garden shed.
Yeah.
And it needed work. They didn't want it there and they donated it, and Historical Society took it. So they're looking to have an area with pavers or stone in about the same general area. I think it's rounded rather than rectangular, but the same square foot. Jen Smith, you can maybe elaborate a little bit more.
Right, same, I guess it was an in-kind change, so getting rid of the shed, but still using the area.
Yeah. Well, you don't have runoff.
Yeah, I feel like if it's in kind and it's pervious, that's probably better than the shed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Jen Smith, anything else you want to add to that?
Well, it'd be good to know that it will be something pervious. And there's I don't know that there's any other changes other than that.
Bill?
That's it. And we just came in and submitted. I think it's less invasive, and Amy already gave a letter to induce us to give this to the with Steve Litchfield's doing a nice job with that, and it's gonna be a marina.
Yeah, I think that made good sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have to take a vote. I make a motion for the request for minor modification on 184 Edward Foster Road to accept it.
That's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I second.
Jen or Eric, we'll give you that one. Eric seconded that one. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jen. All in favor, Jen
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank
Is there
you very
anything else
much.
we really need Jen for? Thank you, Bill. So she
I don't
can
think so.
No.
go see where
Steve,
Eloise
please.
is.
No,
Somebody's got to
know.
go untie the babysitter.
I know. The Tara.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Jen.
Yeah, the certificate of compliances are 6 Pine Brook was both of them submitted as built. 83 Rebecca is an older one. Did some plantings, gravel driveway. And 6 Pine Brook was managing, I guess, their wet basement and they kind of managed that in their backyard.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep.
And then, Eric, if you would have noted something, Penny made sure that she got in her stuff before the meeting started. But if you want to fill anybody in on where we are up at Appleton, that's the other goings on right now.
Yeah, it's just a quick update from last time, because I think the last time we were together, the scouts were about to do work.
Yes.
They've since completed all of that for what they signed up for. They did a good job. And then Leo was able to get in there after their work and mow the site. So the entirety of the field has been mowed. It looks
Hey.
great. The volunteers are happy. They're engaging in the space. They're actually going to be having material dropped to start working within the bounds of the fenced off area. So we are moving forward. I do want to press them a little bit more on getting a plan sent over for the ADA accessibility gardens that they're planning on constructing. So it would be nice to see an actual plan for that. I've yet to get that. We need to get a couple more of the volunteers engaged in the communication surrounding that design, and then eventually the build of. But things are moving forward, and I will be having a conversation with Tyler of Jim Watt Wells, and hopefully able to set up a meeting so we can start looking at some offsets and things of that nature surrounding location of a potential well at the site. So TBD on that, but looking to find a date that'll work for us to be able to stop in and meet with them. And
I'd love to see you be able to get it done before July 1st. You could get an app in on July 1st and get the money in the fall.
yeah, I've already had
Well,
prelim talks with Tyler. He's
Okay.
interested in meeting. I just need to,
Yeah.
nail him down to get me a date so that we can start working on getting that on the calendar.
Okay, very good.
And thank you, Eric, for that one. And it is looking good up there. It truly is. Sometime maybe a couple of us will try to figure out a time to take a walk around the Driftway Park. It's been a while since we've been out there, maybe Jen and a couple other members or whatever, and sort of make a list of what we need to do to spruce that up a little bit. We've been focused on some other things, but I know that the hard pack and the accessible paths and stuff are starting to really get into be tough shape, and we're getting into a better time of year. All the rain took a little bit of a toll out there, so we'll try to arrange something and see if we can't get a few of us to just take a walk around the Driftway Park, see where things are at, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Don't forget
be
our
happy to.
party in May.
What's that?
Our get together in May. What's
Yes.
the date? May
Wait.
10th?
I think May 14th.
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 Yep.
I have
And
to put it on my calendar.
don't forget Ship Shape Day. I know Penny would like everyone up at Mordecai Lincoln, but just
If
in
you can
general.
come, it would be wonderful.
Okay.
You know?
All right. We'll keep the notices going. All right.
Okay.
I guess
And
I
we
get to,
need to adjourn, don't
yeah,
forget.
we do. We're gonna have to, we can't adjourn because we don't have enough members. We're gonna have to stay until someone else comes back.
Oh,
So two weeks from tonight. I make a
Jen!
motion, we adjourn anyways.
And Eric, you want to second
Oh,
that?
Seth can be on
I can
All
second
right.
that.
All in favor? Frank and Jen Smith, you can vote.
sure.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go
Good night.
home. Good
Have a
night.
good night.
Have fun, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much. Good